Joining me now to talk about a campaign for the mayor of Henderson, Dan Stewart. Thank you for joining us, Dan.
Well, thank you, John, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Currently, of course, on the Henderson City Council. First question, why do you want to be mayor?
Well, I think probably most important, two things even. Most importantly is I think we've reached a critical point in the growth and evolution of our city that I think we really need some sophisticated thought and planning to take us into that next step. But most importantly, I got to tell you, I want to lead the charge in taking back control of our schools for the city of Henderson.
Well, and we'll touch on that in a moment. I know it's an issue not only yourself, but your opponent in the race is mentioned as well. But you mentioned you're at sort of a critical point for the city of Henderson. What kind of a path would you like to see charted for the city when it comes to the development, when it comes to making sure that the city continues on the track that it's on now? Or do you see a different track?
Well, that's where I think is important that we make sure we are totally and completely transparent and we get the input of the residents now, because they have every right to be involved and have a big say in the way we go, in the path we take. But for me, it is to keep the hometown feel that we have right now, that we've built over the last 30 or 40 years. It's a fabulous community. The leaders before us, the folks, the officials have really made a great community. But we're at that kind of critical point to where, do we want to continue that way? Do we need to grow? How is that growth going to take place?
Do you feel like with the growth of West Henderson, obviously we talk about Green Valley and all the residential developments there on the south end of the Beltway, is Henderson losing that neighborhood feel that you're referring to?
I don't think so. I think that we can maintain, in fact, I know we can maintain that neighborhood, that community feel, and still yet grow and become that more sophisticated community that we need to be.
So how do you do that in terms of what projects come in, what businesses you bring in? What does that look like?
Well, as I've said, we're a great community. Lots of good things have been done. So we have the foundation to continue that growth, but it needs to be done in a very strategic, thoughtful way, so that we can be very selective, actually, in the businesses that we try and attract and folks that we try and come and be part of our community that can share our vision.
Sure. You mentioned the school district. You started a PAC, I believe.
Yes.
You are determined to separate Henderson School District or Henderson from CCSD. Why?
Well, the easy answer, which is the truth, is CCSD is just too big. It's just become unwieldy. We can't get anything done. It's too big. It's just a morass of red tape, and we need to have local control. Parents need to be able to be more involved with their own children and the children's education. And the only way to do that is to make school districts smaller.
You're not the only person who's brought this up this idea before. There has been an effort for years to separate CCSD, and obviously Councilmember Romero has brought this idea up as well. Why is there such a push in Henderson to be on your own from CCSD?
Well, I think we've reached that, again, I hate to keep using that word, that critical point. I think the pandemic has kind of been the straw that broke the camel's back. I think there's so much frustration amongst parents that people are just in the outcry that we've got to have more control. Yes, you're right, John. This has been something since my kids were going to school. I'm a CCSD product. My kids are a CCSD product. My grandkids are a CCSD product. So I understand this, but we've been talking about it and talking about it and talking about it. It's time to do something about it.
How do you do something about it? It's not like you can just flip a switch or snap
no,
your
this
fingers.
is going to be very, very hard.
You got to go to the legislature.
Yeah.
It's a whole procedure.
Oh, it is. It's going to be hard and arduous, but I'm up for the task. We've started the PAC, Community Schools Initiative, and anybody that wants to help us, we need all the help we can get, can go to Community Schools Nevada NV, Community Schools NV is our website. But it's going to be long, it's going to be hard, but it's worth the effort. And it will be done through initiative, the ballot, or through the legislature.
You've discussed the issues of transparency when it comes to growth. You discussed the effort to separate CCSD from CCSD. I spoke with Councilmember Romero, who you know, of course, and she brought up many of the same things. So if I'm a voter, why would I vote for you instead of her?
Because I'm actually putting together this pact. I'm actually raising the money to make this happen, to go out and get the necessary signatures to get this initiative qualified. It's just not an easy process of, like you said, you know, snapping your fingers. It's a long process, but I've started that process with this pact, with this committee, and we are moving forward. We're going to get it done, and it's the only way I know of doing it is taking it to the people, getting the initiative qualified, and then getting the necessary signatures.
Just to elaborate a little more, if possible, on how you, as the campaigns go on, how do you plan to differentiate yourself from your opponent, considering if you look just sort of, you know, one against one, a lot of your positions are pretty similar in terms of your vision for the future, the economic development aspect, the school district aspect, public safety. There's not a whole lot of difference, is there? So
there's huge difference.
So tell me about what they are.
The perspective. I have been 45 years in this valley, and I'm a businessman. I come from a total businessman's point of view, business person's point of view, excuse me. And you know, that perspective is necessary to get these hard things done. And perspective is everything. I come from the taxpayer. I come from a customer of government. I've worked through government and the red tape my entire life. So there is a huge difference between a public sector point of view and a private sector point of view, which my point of view is. That's where I come from.
Why do you believe for the overall city of Henderson, a private sector viewpoint is best?
I think because it's the way to solve problems. I think that the private sector in the past has always been able to step up and able to, well, let me put it in a little different way. My strength, I believe, is being able to bring people together, get a consensus, solve the problems, move forward. And I think the private sector does that a lot better. Is there a place for government? Absolutely. I'm part of that solution as well. But at the same time, you need that perspective, the business person's perspective on how to get things done.
How much of Mayor March's agenda and the current city council sort of way of maybe thinking, or the way the votes have been going, et cetera, how much of a change from the current course of action do you anticipate if you become mayor? Is it status quo, or is it, okay, I'm Mayor Stewart, we're going to chart a little bit of a different course here?
That's a very good question. I'm not one to come in and wave my arms and say we need to change. I think we need to course correct a little bit.
How so? Just elaborate that a little bit more if you can.
Again, back to that point of becoming a little more sophisticated.
What does that mean by this?
Sophisticated in
I know what sophisticated means, but like
yes.
in terms of city development.
Sustainable growth, not just sustainable growth and development, but a sustainable community. How do we continue to be the Henderson that we are and that we love and that we love being part of, but how do we anticipate and plan for the future growth? Growth is coming. We just need to make sure we do it in the right, proper way.
So you asked the question, how do we become sustainable in terms of growth? What's the answer?
Smart, intelligent thinking and planning, and a collaboration with the right kind of people, and attracting the right kind of businesses.
Final question, just sort of the number one priority in your view for Henderson moving forward?
Take control of the schools, our own schools. That's my mission. That's what gets me up in the morning. I'm passionate about it. We're going to make this happen. And it's just not for Henderson. This is for the state of Nevada. I think especially for the southern Nevada, it's not just for the kids in Henderson. It's for the kids and the students throughout southern Nevada. It's just got to be done. CCSD is too big. We need smaller school districts.
Just to quickly follow up on that again, we've seen recently the issue at Lamping Elementary in Henderson.
Yes.
What is the correlation in your view between what's happened there since school started essentially, and what you want to try and do?
Can I be personal, use a personal example? My daughter lives in Omaha. There are smaller school districts back there. They, in 1 week, because their school district's smaller and they have better control, in 1 week they decided, are we going to wear masks or are we not going to wear masks? All right? Right now, you couldn't get that done in, with a buy-in from everybody. So I think with the smaller school district, better control, parents more involved. Parents are the key to a child's education. And so a smaller school district affords and allows people, parents, families to become more involved and therefore get the solutions quicker and better solutions.
All right. Well, good luck on your campaign, sir. We
Thank
look
you.
forward to talking with you a little bit later on. Appreciate it.
Well, John, thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.